And what happened to Tony? Welcome, everybody, to our Saturday Ask On Questions chat. And we got Tony joining us from New Jersey. Thanks for jumping in.
Jay, thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
So let's see. We were just kind of chatting off air here, but we wanted to get started because otherwise we would just be chatting off air. I'll go look up. I think we might have had a question or two still in the list from people that have asked over on the website, but while we're getting situated, waiting for comments to come in, waiting for people to join us, what's been happening on your neck of the woods?
We got the diversity shoot we had Thursday night, which was great. New people. The other podcast, I really do. The name is killing me. Uh, the new podcast is taking off. We recorded a second episode last weekend. We're going to put them out again twice a month. So, you're trying to build up what do you call that?
Like a
A
library?
backlog. Yeah, yeah. Trying to create a library or a backlog so we actually can have a little cushion in case something happens. Because you got three adults that run multiple businesses between us, and have regular jobs. So you want to create um, a backlog. So if we miss one or we can't record, we still have something. So yeah, locked, cocked, and unfiltered. We have some subscribers. We got some listeners. It's pretty cool. I have no idea how many people listen to the downloadable podcast or whatever you want to call it, but I see how many people actually watched on YouTube, and it's fun. It's dudes talking about this and actually naming names of companies that suck. Um, Not so much attacking people that suck, but giving enough hints that you kind of figure out who we talk, or at least behavior we're talking about, and you can assign it to whoever you want. But I do name Tim Kennedy by name because I don't care. I've spoken to him personally, and he's lied to my face.
What do you
So
think that
I'll
guy's
name.
going? You think he's
What was
sticking around?
that?
You think he's going to be sticking
Oh,
around? Or does he have longevity, or is he out of here?
oh, he'll stick around because there's enough sycophants out there that just love him because he's military and they don't hear everything and know everything. It's not like they have to keep their ear to what's happening. Um, Maybe he might not be picked up again by the firearms industry, but there'll be people defending him. I mean, if you look at it, he went from FN to SIG to somebody else in like all of 3 years. Oh, USCCA was working with him. And it's like, dude, everybody's been saying this guy's full of poop for freaking 3 or 4 years and he's not real a second amendment. And that didn't bother them. That didn't bother them that he was pretty much anti Second Amendment with the things he did and the companies he worked for. And people like us who actually fight cat fight, we're like, why are you praising this douche canoe? Oh, because he's special operations. He was a ranger and he's MMA fighter. Oh, okay. So maybe without sponsorship, he'll slide away. But again, you never know. I mean, remember, the reason he's verboten is because he lied about his military service, not because he was anti-gun.
That's a good point. Do you think that, since we're bringing up that guy, do you think that there's people that are barometers of, like, if I'm going to say, like, if there's a company is tone deaf, like a company doesn't know what the hell's going on, isn't reading the room, like doesn't know how to talk to gun owners, they just know how to make guns. Is there some
Hmm.
sort of, is there, well, no, I guess we're not getting it, but I would say, I'm thinking you agree with me that there's a group of people that if they're working with this group of people, then that's an indication that they're just in it for the cash. They could care less about what's going on. They're not really even paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've all seen that.
I
We've
mean, those
seen gun
companies
companies that
go
can't read a freaking
like that.
I wish they would. I mean, really, I wish. I mean, okay, it sounds childish and naive. I wish all people said what they meant and meant what they said. But especially when it was companies like these that actually depend on um, the Second Amendment to make a living. I wish they showed up. I wish they put as much effort into actually doing the work as they put in pretending to care about the work. Oh yeah, we really like the work you guys do. We love it. Here's uh, freaking I don't know, two pieces of product. All right, cool. Yeah, all right. I'll raffle this off. I really appreciate it, or whatever. And then, oh, we hired Tim Kennedy for X numbers of thousands of dollars a year. I'm like, no, why don't you give Tim Kennedy two of your products and tell him to choke on them, and then give money to Second Amendment advocacy organizations to the tune of thousands a year? That might just be me being a bitter dude that actually, is trying to help the Second Amendment and grow it and spread freedom. And I've never lied about my service record until I was actually doing a tongue in cheek joking about how ridiculous some of these people put down as instructors. I'm an instructor and I serve with the freaking 17th Special Forces Navy SEAL skydiving team, and I will teach your grandmother to shoot. What the hell's that got to do with teaching my grandma to shoot? Okay, I'm like, how much of our story is going to be filled? How much of my training time is going to be filled with you telling war stories? Is the more important thing.
Well, that's
But
an
they are
interesting thing
good for
because
what's up,
that
bro.
is, well, that's an element. And imagine, I'm going to put it to guitars because I think that's similar. But if you were going to take a guitar class with, I don't know, I guess I don't know a good guitarist, like the guy from some famous band, then you're
Hmm.
probably going there with the expectation that you're going to learn that guy's songs, maybe that guy's style or something. I don't really know how to words say it like that, but you know what I mean? Like you're not going there to learn how to play a guitar. You're going there to learn specifically how that guy plays a guitar, right? Or maybe
Hmm.
theory or something like that. But then you also have to expect you're going to go there with people who are there just to meet the guy because they like his songs.
Hmm.
Maybe they got a guitar, maybe they just bought a guitar to be there. And then somewhere in between, maybe people that are building guitars and want him to endorse their brand or their type of fret or string or I don't know, something that they do to the guitar that's new and signature to them. And they'd like this guy to see it, so they take the class. And there's more, right? Like maybe somebody's making a
Mm-mm.
guitar software or something, and they want
No,
this guy
no,
to.
I see what you're talking about, but it's too specific. See if what's his name? I can't even think of the kid's name who's in the Marine Corps that won the Medal of Honor. Ended up putting his foot in his mouth and people disliking him because he called, armed civilians LARPers. Dakota, the kid named Dakota
Right.
something. Anyway, yeah, okay, I get it if you're taking his class. I get it if you're taking the guy who has run around for the last few years, continually claiming he shot Osama bin Laden. I get it if you're taking someone's specific class. But if you're taking anyone's class that said they served in the special forces or said they did, then you're not, you know what I'm saying? It's not as specific. Yeah, a famous dude, uh, what's his name? Ray Vaughn.
Steve Ray
Yeah,
Vaughan.
Stevie Ray Vaughan. Yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan. If I went to Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar class, I'd be there because of Stevie Ray Vaughan. But if it was a class that anybody who went to school and played in a band, you know what I mean? It's it's like yeah. He did it on another level. He was a studio musician, so I'm going to learn from him. And because he played on stage with a couple of famous people, I'm like, it's not the same. Like, all right, you were special forces or you served in the Ranger Battalion. Cool, but how does that help me as a civilian? You know what I mean? As a civilian firearms carrier. And I'm good with it, whatever it is. But I think, and I'm not angry at them. Let me go ahead and clear it up because as a veteran myself, cool. You should be able to go, hey, I'm a veteran. I served. And if you want to hear from me and, learn from me, cool. It's the people that will go, well, if you're not a veteran, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm like, what the hell's that got to do with anything, bro? That doesn't translate in helping you as an armed citizen. Like I'm not upset at the veterans themselves at all, and I hope it doesn't come out that way. I'm annoyed by people who take classes that want to gatekeep who their instructors can be. Because again, I am. a military veteran, but I was a computer programmer. And the training I received from civilians after I got out is more applicable and better in the case of handgun than the training I received as a United States Marine from the military itself. So that's one of my things, and it may seem like I'm walking the line, but I'm not. I'm not angry at any veteran that wants to go out there and use that their own personal um, employment history as part of their own advertisement. Why wouldn't you? But the people that think that's the only requirement you need, they need to be a cop or a freaking military member. Well, that's silly. That's really silly. Mainly because police and military often bring in armed civilians that are really good at shooting to teach them to shoot better, to shoot faster, and to shoot more accurately. Rob Latham has taught probably almost every top tier special forces group in America, if not multiple from around the world. Because when a guy can go in and shoot three people in like 2 seconds, in less than 2 seconds, that's impressive. Or what's his name, Vogel? I can't think of his first name. His last name is Vogel. I was actually watching him because I was watching to see how long it took him to shoot three people. I wanted to see how fast this drill could actually be done. 2 rounds on three people in less than 2 seconds. Excuse me, on three targets in less than 2 seconds. I from draw, by the way, not with the gun already in your hand. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think at front sight we were shooting like at the end of the 4 or 5 day class or whatever. You're shooting 1 point something second shoots or draws and shoots. So
Hmm.
that's taking regular people and just just repetitiveness, teaching them how to do it. But like anything, it's a perishable skill, so it's gonna fade. You're gonna understand the concept forever, but
Hmm.
the skill itself, you need want to practice it occasionally, if not often. I guess what I was getting at though with the idea of like when you go to a class with somebody famous, or even if they're just perceived to be famous, but I'm thinking of the same
Hmm.
famous type of level or whatever, like you are, I think, where people are
Hmm.
putting their hat on like, oh, I'm so famous, so come to my class, and that's why it costs more or whatever. I guess what, and I'm not excusing it either, but from my understanding, from my limited understanding of people that have gone to a few of those classes, um, because they have so many different people showing up who are looking for so many different things and they're used to that, then it's not like a class where you go to somebody who's just a driver or just an
Hmm.
operator, and you go to that class because it's like we're going to get right to business, like here we go, and everybody's up to speed, and everybody's just right in there getting into business, and it becomes it's fun and everything. It's just that it's more business, where those classes where there's the celebrity or the whatever, I'm gonna say celebrity ish, whatever
Hmm.
celebrity, that's more of like, well, thanks everybody for showing up, and I'll be signing autographs after lunch, and if you'd like to eat lunch with me, it's $25. Like it's going to be a different type of they're going to conduct it a little bit differently, and it's not going to be they're like, okay, and then after the 4 hours of that stuff, then we'll get to the first class or the first lesson or whatever, and yeah, you'll be able to get selfies during that lesson with us, and then by the end of day 3 we'll be done with lesson number 3. In other classes it's more to business. And
Hmm.
the thing is, if somebody pays for it, I don't care. Like, I don't care what you do. Like, this is
Hmm.
capitalism. Like, do what you want. And there's probably a place for that. Like, I can imagine if I had a somebody that I really really liked, and they offered us class or something that for a couple $100 I could show up and hang out with them for 2 days and learn something from them. Like, heck yeah, I would do that, right? Like, maybe it's, I don't know. I can think of a bunch of different things I'd like to do that. With different things I'd like to learn. So that opportunity, I don't want to begrudge anybody that opportunity. It's just that if you think of all training as the same, then that's where I'm like, let's that's why we're explaining this, I guess. It's like all training isn't the same, and this is one of the reasons why all training isn't the same. So some people went to something like this or some facet of, some version of it, and now they got a bad taste in their mouth, and they think all training
Hmm.
is, or they going to push this on all training, and it's like, no. I mean, while the class, I've never been to a class like that. Actually, I went to one class that you could say is kind of like this. It wasn't a famous guy, just a guy who didn't want to teach the class. Literally, it was a mandatory class, and he was kind of rebelling against the fact that we had to do these mandatory things. So he just sort of went on and on, and it was okay because I could care less. But if I would have signed up for a class, I would have been pretty pissed because he didn't cover anything hardly. No, he did, but he covered it really fast. And if I didn't already know it, it would have been hard to keep up with it all. But
Wow.
no, this is back when we had 16-hour mandatory trainings, and like one of the ways to rebel against that was like, yeah, show up for 16 hours, and we're gonna watch movies, and we're gonna hang out. Kind of like one of these traffic schools where it's like, traffic school, but we're gonna watch movies, or I don't know. There's some weird traffic schools out there, but it was that
Okay.
sort of vibe. He was trying to be like a thumbs up or thumbs into the nose or whatever it is to
Thumb his nose. Thumb his
yeah,
nose at him.
thumb his nose to the state. And I got it, and I was like, okay, and I needed to get my permit. That was my first permit, first time I got one in Arizona. That was a long time ago too. So that would have been. There was an era. I don't know if it's like this. It's not like this anymore anywhere. But back in the old days, there was no carrying around guns. Like the only people who carried guns were the cops. So what we had was some states it was a misdemeanor. So you would carry. Some people would carry, and knowing that it was a misdemeanor, that you wouldn't get all that much in trouble. So when we say there was no carry before, there was no legal carry before. A lot of people were carrying, and they would just know that there was going to have to be some, there was no class you could go to learn how to deal with getting a misdemeanor charge for carrying. But some people, depending on what they were doing or whatever, were going to carry. So anyway, back in those days, it was when the first concealed carry came around. It was like, why would I want to go tell the state I'm going to carry when I could just carry now, and the consequences are usually nothing. And anyway, so that was a long time. A lot of people, most people I know, waited years and years before they got their CCWs, unless they needed them for some reason, some jobs and stuff. It's better just have your CCW, or maybe it looked good if you're trying to apply for some job where that would have looked good. I don't know if it was like that everywhere, or at least back east, I should say. When I say everywhere, states out here were have been and were a lot different in a lot of ways. Fireworks, I think, is one of them.
Yeah.
Fireworks a lot
See,
different, drastically different. It's just population, probably.
what annoys me about something like that, and it can mean nothing, but it annoys me that you had a training opportunity to instruct it. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about the instructor, because if I got to teach a 2 day course, I'm not going to waste everybody's time. I got to be here. You got to be here. Let's learn some stuff that is actually applicable to people like us that actually want to carry a firearm to protect ourselves and others. Yeah, okay. Here to, safety rules. All right, cool. Now let's talk about some real self-defense stuff that actually happened. You know what I mean? And give a breakdown of how to see things happen, how to pay more attention to situational awareness. I mean, make the class worthwhile, or have, as a preamble to your paying class. Like, fuck, I want to go see what else this guy teaches.
Well,
You know what
because
I'm saying?
we paid for this. You had to pay for it. Um,
Whoa.
this
Yeah.
was well, because it's 16 hours, but
Yeah.
and it's not like he didn't go over the stuff. It's just that how many hours can you go over CCW stuff? 16 hours of class, like you know what I
Yeah,
mean? That's
that's why
a
I
lot.
say you make it about other parts of CCW, about actual. I don't know if you had to, because I don't know what had to be taught. Because
I
I
think
know
he did
NRA
that.
is.
I think
Go
he,
ahead.
how did he, I can't try to remember. Again, this can't even remember how long ago this was when I
Yeah, I
got the
get it. I get
first
it.
one. But if I remember right, he may have kind of started. It was in a shop, so it was like 2 8 hour. It was a 2 8 hour sessions. No, it was a bunch of 4 hour sessions. I think he said something like the first two will be the stuff, and then the rest of them I'll sign you off whether you show up or not. And if you show up, we're
Mm.
going to look at like this movie this day, and this, I'm going to look at my astronomy pictures, and like all these things do.
Yeah.
And, but I think he was like, I got all this stuff on the menu. What do you want to do? So it wasn't like, I'm just going to ramble off. He was like, I got a lot
Oh,
of
okay.
stuff you can do. What does the class want to do? And we'll pick that because nobody wants to sit here for 16 hours and learn what takes 4 hours to learn. And then,
I got you.
test is like 6 out, like a sixth grade level test. And
Yeah.
also to give them a break because I don't want to, I mean, it is weak. I'm not saying it's good teaching or nothing. Nothing about it was all that
Oh,
good, but it was like 2005 or 2002 or something. It was like a long time ago. And there wasn't any kind of precedent really set yet. Now we're looking at
Yep.
in 2025 when all the states have concealed carry, and something like that would be like, eh. But at the same time, I hope is there states that require 16-hour classes still? I mean, it's just been a long,
No, Florida did, I think.
long time ago, but I don't think
Florida,
they do it anymore.
like stupid ass Ohio was trying to get you to do freaking 40 hours.
I can't even
It was like,
imagine.
bro, that's the police academy.
Seriously, that's like so much more than anything you could ever. What could they possibly think? How complicated do they think guns are? And if they think guns take 40 hours to learn, then how can they, with their lack of any knowledge, without 1 hour of training, legislate on them?
Yeah. Well, when you ask stuff like that, you get shut down or you get ignored. Remember,
Yeah,
these people don't answer questions.
right.
So, so that, and you know that too, but it's like the people that have never gone and testified, never spoken to these douchebags, these arrogant pieces of crap that are legislators, they don't get it. And it's like, yeah, they don't know what they're talking about, like at all. So when you're listening to them, say they prepared speeches that are written by speechwriters, many speechwriters they probably didn't hire, but were assigned to them. They're just reading a script like actors. They're repeating what they're told so they can keep their phony baloney jobs, as they said in Blazing Saddles. You're going to read this if you want to keep your phony baloney job, and they do it. They have no idea what they're talking about.
Saying goodbye to Mike White. See you tomorrow during the gun owners reunion.
All right. I'm taking a step outside so I can smoke a cigar before I go and hang out at a winery
And smoke more cigars.
and, and smoke more cigars to get the taste of that sour grape juice out of my mouth that they serve at a winery.
Would you rather drink wine or bourbon? Or, one of them
Bourbon
drinks?
all day,
Oh, okay.
every day. Okay, all right, let me be honest. I've only drank wine like a couple of times in my life, um, because my wife got into it for like a minute, and I was like, "All right, I'll try this with my wife." Yeah, this tastes like a wife thing. Ew. But hey, I mean, I'm not a big alcohol drinker anyway, though.
Can you hear that in the background? Nah, it didn't. It wasn't very loud. They're doing an air show right now. I live right underneath the Air Force Base, so there's a air show going on above me. But because it's going on right above me, they only hear them when they come down to freak out the crowd or
Mm.
whatever, or maybe do like a bank or something like. But I can go outside and look up. The Thunderbirds were practicing all day yesterday, and
Nice.
all the whatever assortment of stuff they do at an air show, all that stuff's up in the air. Out here we have A10s. That's where they train the A10s. So we got a lot of A10 stuff, and then F-16s are the guard. I think over at the airport, the regular airport. There's a Air Force base and an airport in Tucson. So at the airport, the guard flies F-16s around, and then the A10s or they teach the kids how to play or how to fly A10s, how to play A10s in the air. So basically, you'll see like 5 of them fly around, and then a whole bunch of single ones fly around. So I figure that's. I'm assuming I've already been to A10 school at this point. I'm thinking that's the instructor telling them where to fly, and then they go up and fly their own routes or whatever. But anyway, so today they're up there. Oh, what I was saying is with the A10s, they'll fly like an A10 with some World War II plane, then an A10 with some Vietnam plane, then an A10 with some modern plane. So like we have a lot of A10 stuff happening up there right now. Oh, can you hear that?
Mm. Oh yeah, sexy. I love that sound.
That might
Miss
be
it.
the Thunderbirds, but it's kind of early for them. It's possible, but anyway. So I'm definitely going to be uh, or have that happening. And this is probably because
Yeah,
they
that
came
was.
down and kind of did a loop, and then the one behind them came down and did a loop. So it could be noisy for a bit sometimes.
So yeah, for a year I lived right outside of the gate of Fort Dix slash Joint Base McGuire. So I heard that all the time, and it just brought me back to my time in the Air Wing when I was in the Corps. Because you can sleep, you're around it enough, you can sleep with jet engines, being tuned up and ran right beside you.
Oh, I think I see
And it was,
engines going near me. Like that's a like
hmm
a lullaby. That isn't a noise. I don't even hear it really.
no, it's the ultimate white noise machine, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
seriously, right? Because you hear the rumble or you feel the rumble. It's not like oh, I can hear some noise of like water or waterfall or something. Like no, I'm here. I'm feeling the rumble. Everything around here is rumbling.
and then of course, you could hear some nights at night. You could actually hear uh, full auto fire when they were doing night fires, and you can hear when they launching artillery or doing air to ground stuff. You can actually hear that too, and you can actually feel the vibration of the artillery in the windows in the apartment and in the complex I was in.
I never thought about that. Whoever lives near like where we were at basic. Wait, no. Yeah, basic. They had tanks and stuff. Yeah, tanks. So I wasn't near where that was happening because I was in basic, but somewhere on that fort they would have been shooting tanks for practice or whatever, or maneuvers
Yep.
and that kind of thing. I never thought about that. Somebody lives on the other side of that wall of that thing, and they're probably getting tremors and stuff all the time.
I mean, I feel it's cool. It just annoys me that there are people out there. Oh, this is it's like shut up. You moved to an area with 100-year-old military base, you jackass.
No, I think
And
you
now you,
there because you thought it was cool. I didn't. I had no. I mean, I moved over here because I wanted to be underneath the air shows and I'll see all the airplanes all the time.
yeah. So I look at that. Oh, and still, I still get a chuckle out of the fact that in New Jersey we had Fort Dix. Fort Dix. Uh, what was the air base name? I said it. Mc Fudge. Oh, Lakehurst, which was a naval air station. Fort Dix, and somebody out there is cursing me out because I can't think of the Air Force base that's McGuire. Yeah, McGuire, Fort Dix, and Lakehurst. And I'm like, man, they combined the bases and just call it combined base, whatever. I'm like, you had the opportunity to name it McDickhurst and you passed it by. I'm like, dude, that would have been the best. I mean, we already have Camp Seymour Johnson. I mean, we had Air Force Base Seymour Johnson. We had Camp Johnson in the Marine Corps. All we need was, Naval Logistic Base Harry Balls. Make everything a dick joke in the military. It'd be great.
I remember it. All the bases went back, or all the forts went back to their names.
Yeah, that was the most ridiculous freaking nano neener neener thing. And it was an opportunity to actually do a real neener neener. Like Fort Bragg, right? They changed it back from Bragg, but it's not the General Bragg that was the piece of crap Confederate general. It was named after a guy named Bragg who won a medal, but they didn't even have a freaking official picture of him. Like you just wanted to name it Bragg again to push back against the wokeness. And I'm like, well, that's a missed opportunity because you're in the South. And if you really, really, really wanted to rub it in the face of traditionalists or racists or whatever you think you're fighting with renaming the base, why wouldn't you name it after some of the black soldiers that won medals? You know what I mean? In the military. And the renaming of a base from taking it from the name of a Confederate general to a black soldier that earned a Medal of Honor or just a minority soldier that earned a Medal of Honor would be kind of really cool. You know what I mean?
No, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good. I didn't realize. I thought they reverted back. I didn't realize they just picked some new person named Bragg.
Yeah, they just picked a new person with the same last name. And I'm like, that's ridiculous because that was a total opportunity to make up for some past injustices. I mean, my uncle was actually drafted and went down to join where they told him to during the Second World War. And they told him they're not letting N words on base and he can just go back home. What's the draft notice in his hand, by the way?
It's World War II.
That was World War II. So what he did was got everybody's name and he went the hell home. That was in 42. It took him till 1944 to catch up with him and had the audacity to tell him he was AWOL.
Well, of course they are.
So he gave him all the information of the people that wouldn't allow him on base, and says, "What was I supposed to do? Fight my way on the base?"
I was just listening to a history of a story of the Rangers, not a history of the whole Rangers, but like a story of
Hmm.
some stuff that
I
the
saw that
Rangers
come up.
on Team
Hmm.
House, and
Hmm.
they were talking about, and I'm not going to remember exactly because I'm not a Ranger. I don't, it's interesting to me, but I'm not. I knew a couple of Rangers. That's all. But it's something to the effect of they stood them up, kind of used them so that they could get some experience right soon in the whatever they did. I don't know if it was soon in the war or not, but in their
Hmm.
history, they used them right away so that they'd all get some experience. Then the idea was to take them and break them all up and scatter them to a bunch of units so that all these units would have an experienced person with some good training. And then
Hmm.
I forget the middle part 'cause I was doing something. They get back together to do something, and then he said that's when they got integrated, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, so even in essentially beginning of the Rangers, but beginning, mid, that was still mid beginning mid World War II.
Hmm.
Right away, right away they're integrating all kinds of units and stuff. So at the same time they're telling your grandpa or your dad, grandpa,
No, my uncle.
but like, so grandpa's age uncle though, right?
Hmm.
um they're telling him to pound sand. They're also bringing a bunch of dudes into the Rangers.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And he ended up driving a because blacks can't be in combat units because they can't take orders. I mean, 400 years of slaves, but they can't take orders. Anyway, they brought him in as a driver in the South Pacific, and he was telling me stories about that. He actually found an underground Japanese hospital when he fell into a spider hole.
Hmm.
And the funny thing is, now it's like, all right, in the light of day, as as an adult with experience behind him and everything. Oh, did your uncle tell a tall tale? He was like, no, I had to really use the bathroom. The island was supposedly secured, but we were still fighting like, roaming bands of Japanese soldiers. And I was driving between commands and I had to use the bathroom. So I stepped behind the tree to use the bathroom and I fell in this damn hole. He said I hit the bottom of the hole with my pants around my ankles. And just in time it takes you to say, I hit the bottom of the hole. I look up and I'm in a hospital, like with lights on it and everything that was dug underground. And he was like, I jumped back through the hole and took off and went and told, the command. And he was like, I thought they were going to send, truckloads of, a squad or platoon or battalion, something. They sent one guy with a flamethrower. Guy stuck the flamethrower in the hole and just fired it until it was empty.
Did Was that like connected to tunnels? You think, or was it just a building
Hmm.
under?
It was a tunnel that they'd hollowed out and had built as that area as a hospital.
Oh,
And they
okay, gotcha.
probably had it segmented so you can escape. That's why they had tunnels in it, so you can never capture somebody.
Yeah, it's like an
You
infrastructure,
know,
but it's got to be
yeah,
infinitely easier to dig like that than to build on an island. Where there's no resources, and what are you going to bring bricks to the island and shit like
yeah,
wood? So yeah, you just dig, especially when they're not huge people, so you can dig. It's not going to be like digging. I don't know, for some that would be like the tallest people out there. Like you're not digging a
yeah.
huge holes.
Well, the thing is, you dig a hole, commiserate to the size of the people that were there, and they're smaller people. And I mean, look, from my time in Japan, they live in closer, and this is in the cities, so you can't say that for every. No, actually, yeah. Even in the towns, the Japanese people lived close together. They weren't like far out, like in America, right? You go through farm countries, there's a farm house, and then there's just no other buildings around. They're just their fields. And in Japan, there's farm land, and then everyone lives together in their houses. And you go out from your land to your farm, to the farm land. At least that's what I saw when I was there. I could be wrong because I didn't see every inch of Japan. But I just never, because You've driven around the country enough to know what I'm talking about, especially in the flat freaking states. You'll see just a
Oh, yeah.
nice farmhouse and acres of land.
I don't know if that was. It had to just be a time thing plus cultural thing, and just the way
Yeah,
that it happened.
definitely.
Because out here, you could claim land back in the old days, right? So I think a lot of those farms started. I assume most of the farms started with somebody just setting down a pitchfork and saying, "This is my land now." He drags his family out there, and they start working it. And he has a bunch of kids now start working it, and then all these years later, it's just been their farm, right? I think that's how
Oh,
most of the farms that exist started.
yeah, and I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot because I just missed again the history of Japan where they had a feudal system and individuals may not have owned the land. It might have belonged to a lord. So yeah,
Oh,
you wouldn't know.
that's a good point. Yeah, and we didn't live through that shit ever, really. I mean, the South
Hmm.
had what do they call them? Plantations. That was kind of. It was never really like that because that was
Yeah,
more like some like the governor would own all the plantations. Like we never had that kind of shit happening. At least I don't think we ever had
yeah.
anything like that happening.
And let's stop acting as if every farm was a plantation, right?
Oh hell
Like
no.
no, they were regular farmers too.
Well, farming is when you have like a bunch of animals and some plows and shit, and most of the time the shit's just growing. Or I shouldn't say
Hmm.
saying say. I think a lot of the farms they figured out ways to just deal with it. I think it was because of the cotton specifically that they needed like I
Hmm.
don't the fucking hands to be able to because they didn't have a machine to do it, and that was the reason that they were like, "Well, fuck it, we're going to keep making cotton for France or whoever wanted it, and we're going to do it by any means possible." Or I guess that's
Well, that
over.
was the thing.
I think it had to do
Cotton,
with what they were growing, right?
yeah, cotton was the one that actually pushed slavery. Um, because it was, it took a lot of hands, and then you had to pick all the seeds out, the cotton seeds out, and then you had to
Maybe the process.
separate cotton.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
separate the cotton strands. So it was such high labor that unless you had X number amount of slaves, it really didn't make sense. And that was how it was. So tobacco was the big cash crop in the South. And an individual could grow tobacco. I mean, that's what my father did. My father sharecropped um, and grew tobacco.
But that's more like one of these things where you have a machine or like a horse or something or a cow or whatever that does
Yeah.
the heavy work, and then you just have to do some work. You're constantly busy, but like one person is dealing
Hmm.
with acres and acres and acres. Yeah,
So when Eli Whitney came along and invented the cotton gin, all of a sudden it became worth it because the amount of labor that it took to transfer cotton from cotton into textile was came way down. So now cotton became the cash crop, and slavery made a whole lot more sense and actually kind of got extended because they were trying to make way, like getting rid of slavery because really it was not financially as viable. But the cotton gin made it financially viable.
hmm.
I mean, think about it. You got to feed somebody and clothe somebody for the rest of their lives. Well, it ain't like your high earning years are after, certain age. After a certain age, you're not in the field like you used to be in your peak years. What do you do with the older slaves? It became a thing that, but now you got a machine that they can still crank a crank. So now that person is still earning money. You see what I mean?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
And
I don't know.
yes, my father
I've been
was
to a
my
lot.
father,
I've been to a lot of
and yes,
Civil
my
War
father was a
battles.
sharecropper.
Where Virginia?
My father was a sharecropper in Virginia. I mean,
Uh,
you worked somebody else's land and you kind of paid for that when your crop came in.
I've been to a bunch of the Civil War battlefields as a kid, just touring them and whatever, visiting them all each summer. And
Hmm.
or I think it feels like I've seen all of them. I have no idea how many I've seen, but when you've lived there, so you understand it better than people that maybe grew up and haven't been to like a Colonial Williamsburg or like not every battlefield, but a good chunk of the battlefields have some sort of like at least what's the word, like a museum-ish type of thing where they show you what it was like back in the day if they don't have like people dressed in the garb and doing the things like back in the day, like Williamsburg does. And
Hmm.
so you get an idea of like how it was like back in the old days or whatever. And I think even more so than watching TV or something. Like when you go up and somebody's living that life for the summer, you know, these people live there and live wearing the clothes and doing the stuff, eating the food and everything of like the olden days. And when you're just walking around, you know, seeing all that, you get a pretty good idea of like what it would have been like back then. And there was a much different like need to have a bunch of people around, right? Like you either, I think you pretty much had to have a bunch of people around. You had to be by
Hmm.
yourself, or you know, just have a lot of, or at least a lot of people helped, right? Just to be able to accomplish
Uh,
all that stuff, you had to do everything had to be done by hand.
well, that's that. It takes a village thing, and people are like, oh, that's some, touchy. No, no, it took a village to do stuff. You couldn't, you couldn't grow all the food. You couldn't, raise all the crops. You couldn't skin and tan stuff and cut all the trees down and create so everyone worked together, and that's what it takes.
Okay. Then you got to raise the kids. So there's, you know, it's not like there's a daycare that you just send them to. Like everything had to be done.
Hmm.
And then during all that, people had to learn, like leave and go to school and learn and stuff. So anyway, so going back to we're 41 minutes in. I don't think we've been talking about gun stuff. We've just been rambling, but that's what happens when you show up here. Woods did have a couple actual questions. Thanks for
Cool.
showing up, everybody out there. We haven't even said hey to people joining up. Um, but we have a lot of people listening. Can you hear that? That's probably the Thunderbirds. They're the only ones that tear around that fast up there. Most of the rest of the air show is just interesting planes flying by. So at the car battery place, my 5-year battery went 9 years. Had to, hard to be mad. Oh, I see what you're saying. That's not a question, but a little bit higher up, it sounds like. Our batteries last maybe 5 years out here. On a good, you know, a good battery will last 5 years out here. He was saying, I was watching Dragnet. The bad guy had a 38 ACP. I didn't know there was a 38 ACP. Have you heard of it? I'm pretty sure I've seen them. I know
Hmm.
there's 38 Super. 38 ACP is
Yeah.
kind of like 38 Super, but shorter.
Yep.
And it's like old caliber that predates. Uh,
Hmm.
well, no, it's a thing that the 1911 was made for, right? 38 ACP. Or am I crazy?
It was 38 ACP that came along in 1900. Yeah. And then 38 Super came from that. And that's what we know, 38 Super. And then then they market 38 Super plus P. So what you see today is 38 Super plus P. It never really had a plus P. That was a designation they gave it to just so people wouldn't put 38 Super in the 38 semi automatics if they found one. And I shot a 38 Super. One of the guys had one, a Taurus, what do you call it? Taurus PT 1911 and 38 Super. Yeah, baby. It is. It was exciting because it spits out a flame and doesn't have the recoil. And so it was kind of like if you shot a 5.7, a 5.7 cartridge with the flame, or even a 22 Magnum out of a pistol. You got all the bang and the pow and no recoil and little of the recoil that sound would you think would accompany.
According to the wiki, it says by the time the Colt Autos and 38 ACP were introduced, the caliber never gained much popularity. That's a shitty sentence, but that's what it says. However, they did see some small but steady sales up until the introduction of the 38 Super, which is like what you just said. It says they saw 38 ACP saw a modest spike in the surplus gun boom of the 1950s, since cartridges would cycle in the Spanish surplus pistols like the Astra 400 that were made in 9mm Largo, even though the 38 Super was semi-rimmed and slightly shorter than the Largo. Some Astras you could shoot it, so I guess that happened. It was similar enough to a metric caliber that people bought it. It says Europe
Okay,
would have.
so
This is what it says on Wikipedia, so it's fact. Europe
oh,
would
okay.
eventually favor the 9mm cartridge. This cartridge is ballistically similar to 38 ACP, but utilizes
Hmm.
a smaller case and higher pressures. So, right there on Wikipedia, first, proof that Europe favors the 9mm and that it's copied off of Browning's 38 ACP, a complete ripoff of our caliber, even though it was invented
Yeah.
first. It's a weird time technicality, is all.
Then he asked about the ACPs. Remember, these things are, I think, John Moses Browning was the one that was coming up with all this genius when he worked for the Colt Company because it was called automatic Colt pistol. That's what ACP means.
I'm going to go ask my robot how.
Oh,
Let's
one
see.
32, 38, 25, 45, 380.
So, how many ACP cartridges are there? And then the robot says, I can't show it to you because my computer's doing something on my other screen over here. The
Mm-hmm.
ACP stands for Automatic Colt Pistol and refers to the family of cartridges, like you just said, designed by John Browning. There are 5 main cartridges with ACP in their name. So is that how many you just said?
Yep.
25, 32, 380, 38, and 45. It says honorable mentions are the 38 Super, which evolved from it, the 45 Super or the 460 Roland, which are hotter
Mm-hmm.
versions of the 5, the 9mm Browning Long, which is related to the 32 ACP but with a longer case, and then the 32 NAA and 25 NAA, which are necked up and down versions of it,
Mm-hmm.
necked down versions of it.
Yo, that 45 Super is something. That's what, baby.
Oh, it says, do you want a visual chart of them side by side? I'm going to say yes. Let's see what it looks like. I guess I can show you. I just can't show you on the screen. It's making a bunch of wood stuff over here. As soon as it shows us, if it's worth showing you. I'd like to be able to get into playing with my ammo. I've got a whole bunch of ammo, and I've bought ammo collections from people. Oh no, it made a stupid chart that's totally boring. It's just a bar chart. I thought it was going to be the actual cartridges or some picture or something. Um,
uh,
but anyway, I bought tons of ammo, and whenever I was traveling, I would always grab whatever. You know, a lot of times you can get like a cigar box of ammo, like a big cup or something. Somebody put all their like loose pieces of ammo in, and
mm-hmm.
if I get that cheap enough, I really like that just because it's something to pick around through and find some interesting little stuff. And every once in a while, I'll find some new ammo for my collection. And now I've got this crazy collection of ammo, and I really, really would like to get back there and just take some time and try to figure out how to organize it. I haven't found the ideal way to organize and display an ammo collection, and I'd like to put some time into thinking about that. But I don't know if there's anything to do anything other than that. When we started thinking about old ammo here, it made me think about all my. I have a lot of it in like Dixie cups. Is it Dixie cups? Those plastic cups, those solo cups. I have a lot of it
Solo
just
cups.
plastic solo cups back there, and I'm thinking like a lot of my old fashioned ammo is in those cups. Made me think of them.
Yeah, look
Uh,
up other people's ammo collections and pretty much if you see one that looks cool, copy that.
I've done
You
that.
don't have
I've
to
looked
think
at
every other.
Pinterest. The best I could come up with is they call it corrugated paper. It's basically it's like a piece of cardboard, but if you take one piece of the flat part off a cardboard, so you have one fleece flat piece,
Mm-hmm.
you have that wavy part in the middle of cardboard, and then you just don't
Mm-hmm.
put the other flat piece back on, and that's
Yeah.
a it becomes a piece of paper and it rolls up real easy. But when you put that at the bottom of a drawer, nothing rolls around it. It becomes a bunch of little ridges, and it's really good for putting ammo in. And I got that trick from the big ammo collection that was here in town uh,
Nice.
back when I visited. But So I bought some of that paper, but that requires you have something with drawers. And what he had was big map drawers, big giant wooden drawers
Mm-hmm.
full of ammo. So they weigh a ton. So when you pulled out one drawer, it didn't care because the rest of that thing weighed so much that one drawer of
It
ammo
was
was enough.
still in place. Yeah.
But I don't have anything like that. So I need to come up with something that's still. And my ammo collection is big, but it's probably the size of a poster. If I laid it all out, it's not that big. So I'm thinking maybe some smaller frames or something. But I'm also thinking I might try to 3D print something using,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say math, but maybe put a bunch of fake bullets into some renderings and figure out what angle to put them so that they're not going to be top heavy, and make some
Mm.
little 3D print some little racks or something, and come up with something like that just as a way to display them. The other problem is once you can imagine if you're collecting ammo, as you get a new bullet, you may want to put it here, and now that means all these other ones have to shift over, and that can be a
Mm.
real. If it's depending on how your collection is set up, that could be a real
Yeah, all of
pain.
a sudden, all of a sudden you have to move everything over. Left shift.
Yeah, and then you
Mm.
put like, no, that shouldn't have. I should have moved everything right. And then it's like, oh man, that was twice the work.
Or you could put that thing on the pegboard, get a pegboard put up with the hangers,
Mm-hmm.
and you can have it the cardboard that you were talking about, you can have it on that. So a cardboard section, I don't know, let's go with the size of a playing card with the cartridge on it, and let's say your Snapple cap worth of information about that cartridge, and just have it as a hanger and move it around if something else comes along. Almost like yeah, just a board with them up there. I was gonna
That's
say
what
like
I'm kind
Soul
of.
Train Scramble.
Well, I was
Yeah.
thinking. No, that's actually what I was thinking. Is like links on a caterpillar or like a tank or something, and then
Mm-hmm.
have you can pull, or like links on a. Actually, I'd like links. What am I saying? Like links, like on a BMG or whatever, or on
Mm-hmm.
a Browning, on a machine gun. Um, because then you can just pull out ones. And if you did pull one out, you can add one in, and they all shift. So I was thinking
Yeah.
something like links, but maybe a more universal clip, so that because my links, will work for things that are 30 caliber, but they're not going to work for 22 caliber because it's just going to flop around in it.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Bullets for Bucks is out there. I'm running your extension. I started it. Did I start it at 940? I think I started it at 940, and it's 104. So it's been running for three, 3.5 hours or something. So if you're still listening, 3.5 hours in on this thing. I don't even want to look. The last time I looked, I was up 50. So we'll see if it goes up more than that. But I told you I'm running something on another machine. It's his extension that he put together. Um, I was gonna go look at
Yeah,
the spread or at the database here. We're getting pretty close to an hour though. You got a timer
we
set?
can yeah, we can go slightly over. I'm not really worried about it. Like 16 minutes away.
Okay. Um, I don't know if anybody else has any questions while we're live here. There are a ton of people listening. It always freaks me out how many people are listening compared to how many people comment and say stuff. Woods is always good for commenting. He's even out and about, and we got some comments from Woods today. C&T is out there. Welcome. Got Bullets for Bucks, of course. Mike White took off, but he's always good for some questions occasionally. Volker Rumble actually said something earlier, and I forgot to talk about this one. Should I attempt to travel by Amtrak to Pennsylvania uh, to go to, let's see, should I attempt to travel by Amtrak to Pennsylvania to go to Oaks from Cape Cod? I don't know what that part means.
Okay. No. Now, why do you say that? Oaks is a gun show. Look, if you're gonna take the time to rattle your freaking guts around on the and bounce around on the train, I think the prize at the end should be better than the Oaks gun show. If you want to, fine. But my suggestion is to make it the most bang for the buck is to go to Harrisburg to the Great American Outdoor Show. That's much bigger. And it's not just guns, it's camping stuff, it's travel stuff, it's RVs, it's fishing stuff. It's guides. It's taxidermists. It's just a lot more to see. Because when it comes down to, the Oaks is a big gun show, and you can look it up online, the Oaks PA Gun Show, and if that's impressive for you, cool, come down. But I'm just saying, in February, for 9 days, there's a bigger show going on that I think would be worth going to more if you're only going to do it once. If you want to check out the Oaks, go check out the Oaks. I've been a couple of times. Actually, I was invited by the owner of Gideon Optics uh, to be one of the personalities there to celebrate him taking over the Oaks Gun Show. He owns that, actually.
That's not the one that the guy took over because they wouldn't
Yep.
do AR-15s or whatever.
They wouldn't do AR-15s, and they didn't want to have 80%. And he owned Poly 80,
So I kind of
polymer
feel like
80.
that one's worth going to just to go to because it's just one. It's
So,
if we ignore gun shows, they'll go away, and I feel bad saying that because I haven't been to a gun show in forever. But I
mhm.
also went broke trying to do shit, so I don't feel too bad. I'm trying to get my feet financially back under me here, and then I'll definitely be going to gun shows again. That's one of my favorite things to do. But uh, gun shows are I don't know what to say. Like I think they're I personally think they're one of the best things about the gun community. But that being said, I've been to a lot of gun shows my entire life, and they're not all the same. I've been to gun shows all around the country and throughout time, so they do change, and not all of them are the same. But that particular one, I mean, unless it's like 75 tables or less, and there are three-quarters of those tables are selling Girl Scout cookies. If it's a halfway decent show, um, even the worst gun shows, if you walk around them about three or four times, you find stuff that's cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's some shows where it's dripping, it's overflowing with good stuff, and you don't bring enough money, and it's just kills you because there's so many cool things to buy. And then you go to some shows, and they seem like they're barren. But even the worst shows, if you walk around long enough, I mean, I definitely have been to shows. I'm not going to try to act like there's never been a bad gun show, but I don't know. How bad is
yeah,
that?
actually,
Do you know? Is that like a horrible
was
train?
how I don't know. My wife came from South Carolina on the train, and she hated life because it took, I think, 12 hours. It takes a long time. So she
So it's
hated
not
it.
just that it's
And
like, oh, we're starting here and we're ending here like an airplane. It's like we're starting here, stop, starting here, stop, start, stop, stop,
oh
stop, stop.
yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah. So, but yeah, if you're gonna go to one, definitely go to his. Just realize that, yeah, yeah, he's an awesome dude, and what he did was great. So if you're gonna support one, cool, support it. That's the gun show I went to. I don't even bother with anything else up here, mainly because I don't even know if there's another gun show, within travel distance of where I go that's worthwhile. So if I go to a gun show, it'll be the Oaks, and it'll only be the Oaks because usually they have some reason for me to be there. Like I got a couple friends that have tables there permanently. Actually, three people I know have tables there all the time. One was my T-shirt guy. One was my partner in diversity shoot when we first started up, and he also helped. We did a Minuteman Challenge together. And then it's Tom Dixon, who owns Surplus Army AR-15 company, and he sells his rifles up there too.
Now I'm looking at the map because now I'm curious to see how far this trip is. So this sounds like it's a show that's on your side of, on the, what would that be, the east side of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then where is, oh shit, Massachusetts is far away.
Mm-hmm.
That's no tiny railroad trip. So
Hold on,
where
I might be able
is,
to find out from here. Directions. Train 7 hours and 40 minutes.
oh, that's only 7 hours. It looks like it's 300 states away. Oh yeah, shit, that's between here and Phoenix. Dang it, you
Well, I did between.
tiny state having hours. Okay, I'm like, oh, that's like 4 states away. That's got to take forever.
There's a difference between out west mentality and east coast mentality, right? When it comes to a state.
Yeah, and I was just not
Uh,
about the size of these states, I guess. So, but also on a train, uh, whatever amount of miles that is, it's probably stopping a lot too. So even though it's not that many miles, it's stopping a lot, and it goes through New York.
hold
I
on.
mean, it would be interesting for me to go on that train just because it would take me through all those cities and stuff.
Let me see if this is it. Greater Philadelphia Expo Center. What the fuck? Is that what it's called? Wait a minute. What's the Oaks Gun Show at? Hold on. The Oaks. Because that was a totally different number. The Oaks Gun Show. Mm, Philadelphia Gun
Oaks,
Shows. Greater
Pennsylvania.
Philadelphia. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Oaks, PA. It's 12 hours, bro, from Massachusetts to Oaks, PA.
Oh, okay.
The, yeah.
So you're saying it's 7 hours to drive, 12 hours by train?
Well, no. What I did was punch it in Google Maps,
Oh, okay.
and I just put Massachusetts in, and then I put the Oaks Gun Show, and it's a 5 hour car trip, a 5 hour and 20 minute car trip, or a 12 hour train trip. 5 days walking or one day by bicycle.
That's crazy how you can do it in one day in a bicycle, though. That's
Yeah, I'm
that's how
like,
crazy the traffic is. If you're just doing it, you can get there in no time.
yeah,
So that
it
means
takes.
how long would it take on a motorcycle? Probably 4 hours or something.
Well, if you ignore the traffic laws,
Well, I'm just
well, it
saying, like
takes 5 hours by
bike
takes
is
five
probably
hours by car.
faster. Isn't bike
Yeah,
faster
that's
than a car? No.
no, no. Yeah, 5 hours by car, a day by bike. So yeah, 12 hours on the train. No, thank you, sir. That's a long time, man. Because I'm going down. I'm going down NRA. Hopefully, I'm picked as one of the people that podcast from NRA's New Media Row
I
for the
thought you were
NRA
already in
show.
on it. I thought you were already in for that. Yeah, they have to still
No,
pick.
I put. Yeah, they have to choose. I think they said they were going to choose like 14, 15 podcasters, and if I'm chosen, cool. I'm prepping everything. I'm going anyway, regardless. So I'll be down there. And I'm like, I'd never think about taking the damn train. I took a train from Virginia to South Carolina for Marine Corps boot camp. Whew, that was the longest, shortest ride ever. Because you're sitting there, it's like, oh, my future's about to kick off. This is a whole new chapter in my life. Oh, I'm so nervous. What if I suck? What if it kicks my ass? What if I'm not as good as I think I am? What's
Well,
on the
plus
other side of it?
you're on young, exactly. You're like, let's get this over with. I need to see what's next. I'm trying to live my
Yeah,
life here. Come on.
yeah. It's like, come on, man. Let's go ahead and get this started. Actually, I had a young man who is entering one of the service academies. He has what was it, West Point, the Merchant Marine Academy, and the Coast Guard Academy. So he actually came to the diversity shoot. His mom bought him. She's been trying to get him there for a while, and she finally got him to break down and come. And I don't think you could sandblast a smile off of that kid's face when he left. If you watch my stories, he's the kid in there.
Is he
Reese.
has he shot before?
Nope. First time he shot a fired firearm was in my event.
Yeah, I think it's better to just have shot something before you go into the service, huh? No matter,
Yeah,
no matter.
I just look at it as at least you have, and that's what I told him. I was like, at least now, when they're talking about sight alignment, sight picture, equal, equal height, equal light, between the rear sight and the front sight, you at least know what they're talking about. You've seen it. You shot the gun. You're not an expert in any way, but at least he's broken the ice. And he shot everything. He shot a 45-70 lever action, fired a semi-automatic Beretta A300, shotgun. He fired AR pistols, of course, handguns, multiple handguns, 9, 40, 357 Magnum. all from one of our events. So I have a picture up right now on Simon Says Train on Instagram on my stories, and you can see him firing the shotgun and his mom videotaping him in the background. I thought that was the coolest picture I had of, there in action. Because I could show you a picture of a kid shooting a gun, and that's cool. But here's a proud mom, like, yes, I finally got him here. Lovely lady. Makes me laugh every time I see her. she's bought she bought him. She's actually bought her husband, and she's come to, I think, three of them on her own. And that's what I really like about diversity shoots, because you get ladies like her that not only get a chance to pull the trigger because she, looking for her own handgun and her own firearm, and finds out what she likes. And because we have such a diverse group of volunteers, my guys are coming with a variety of firearms because we're that, what do you call it? Uh, the guys that volunteer with me aren't somebody that only has two or three firearms. You know, they're the people that have 20 handguns alone, and they just have different types of firearms that they enjoy shooting and enjoy. And they've spent, a decade or more for most of them, introducing other people to firearms just as, oh, yeah, that's Tim. He's the gun guy at work. Yeah, he goes out every now and again. He'll take you to shoot. And that's who I've been blessed with, because it gives them an opportunity to actually show up on 20 dates in the year to show off whatever the hairy heck they want. And then that's an opportunity for people in a state like New Jersey that didn't have carry up until 3 years ago or 2 years ago, to get their hands on a variety of firearms. And now I've opened up to them a whole new community of people that they can ask questions to. They're finding websites that they never heard of, and they're finding communities online that they can be a part of. And now you've come here and met some of the people that are either they own the forum or they're huge on the forums. So now you're meeting them in person and you're shooting the guns they're talking about. And now when it comes time to you to buy your gun, I mean, we have four of the five ranges have gun shops in them. And one of the gun shops that doesn't even have a range, but they send their guys volunteer, they're a gun shop. So, yeah, I don't know. I really like the Beretta. How many kinds of Berettas are there? Well, come up to our shop and you can put your hands on one. Or go to the shop here and you can check them out. Well, that's the jacked up part. In Jersey, they can't put their hands on a handgun in the state of New Jersey unless they have a firearms ID card. But you can shoot handguns in New Jersey if you come to my event because you don't need a firearms ID card. You can't catch one in the shop that's unloaded, but you can shoot a loaded one at the range.
Why? Because it's like an event and it's not a store.
No, because those laws are meant just to F with you, not to keep you safe. Believe me, they'll try to pass the same stupid crap they had in, what was it, Washington or Oregon, where you had to have a transfer if you even handed a gun to someone. It was the dumbest thing in ever. So they protested on the state capitol because you could open carry there. So they stood in front of the door and just handed guns back and forth to each other, like just hand over hand, and go, yeah, to do this, we'd actually have to have a transfer.
I think that was Oregon.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to show them how stupid they are and let other people see it and just shame them out of it. And I love they tried to use criminals. Oh well, it stops the criminals because a lot of crimes committed with firearms are community firearms or community guns. So they have a drop gun. So you go to this abandoned house and move this brick, and there's a pistol there, and you can use it to rob people. And when you're done, you put the pistol back. I'm like, yeah, really? There's a whole lot of that, huh? Now, exactly how is the person that robs people to the point that they know where the community gun is? They're going to do paperwork every time they do it. Are they going to go see a FFL every time they pick up the community gun? What exactly are you saying? And when you talk like that, that's another reason why they don't actually answer questions when you go testify. It's like, how exactly does that happen? How does that work?
We're just saying it was not
That's
Washington.
it was in Washington.
Correct. Well, that's what Woods
Uh,
is saying.
I, yeah, I was trying to figure out which one it was because I remember it happened. I remember pictures of them on the
As soon
steps.
as you talked about the people passing guns, that makes me think that was Washington, or what makes me think that was Oregon.
Oregon.
I just seem to remember that was something that happened in Oregon. Yeah,
Yeah, Oregonians fought back, man. They fought back, still lost, but they fought back. Mainly because most gun owners sit on their butts and complain, or they just don't pay attention at all until it's too late. And then that's one of the guy's complaints. And I totally get it. Look, you buy a lawnmower, you don't join lawnmower forums, you don't
so that's what
join
I'm saying.
lawnmower
It's not
clubs.
like we all joined forces on pretty much anything, really. Even like Disney does something, and then somebody gets mad or gets mad because Disney did something. Nobody goes like, "Oh, let's get mad at Disney together." Like people just don't get together for shit very well. So I don't want to
But
give us
it's,
much shit, but at the same time,
yeah,
it's worth trying because pot heads never got together. I don't remember big pot rallies, and somehow there's recreational pot in like most of the states. So things can
well,
happen.
again,
We need like
there
somebody
was,
to lead us there. We can be the ones that lead other people there.
I understand what you're talking about, and that's why I do what I do to try to actually get people riled up. But there was no paid anti-pot people. There wasn't a huge paid
Yeah, no, there's no
finance.
Bloomberg
Excuse
of
me.
pot, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Like, oh
yeah.
no,
There was no.
pot's so bad. You can't let the pot win. Like, you can't let pot happen. There's reasons
Yeah,
why. Yeah.
like tobacco companies were definitely behind funding people, politicians to push against weed being legalized.
I would
I
think that
get
they
it.
want it to be legalized because I've heard there's going to be like Marlboro marijuana and
No,
cannabis.
no, Marlboro actually, it wasn't Marlboro marijuana. Marlboro bought uh something about Marlboro trademarked something. I forgot what it was. But no, one of the this is what I heard, and I don't even know where I heard it, but I latched onto it. That if you just chilled out and smoked weed, you wouldn't smoke cigarettes, kind of thing. Like that was just seen as competition by them. I have no idea if it's true at all. It's one of those. Where did you hear it? And I don't. But yeah, there was not a paid finance anti-weed movement.
Since we're talking about that, I'm going to go off on my last tangent. Um, Bloomberg spent a bunch of money, and he didn't spend that much money. He's one of the most wealthy people on the planet. And I don't care, I'm not begrudging him or nothing. It's just a fact. He has a lot of money. So when he spends what to most people is a lot of money, to him is not his money. Like that's some of his money, not even a lot of his money. It was just like a little
Hmm.
bit. It was really just a little bit of his money he spent on anti-gun. He's done other things, right? He's the guy who tried to make it so you couldn't, what's the word, drink sodas or something when he was mayor.
Couldn't
It's the same guy,
couldn't drink
right?
a large soda. No
So
supersized soda. No large sodas.
he's Mr. Tyranny, and the gun thing is like one of his agendas. But he didn't spend that much money. And I used to say back in the old days, you can watch videos of me saying we'd be in trouble if this dude really spent money. If this guy really gave a shit, like if he wasn't playing games, if he doubled the amount of money, which he could easily do, we like he. I think we figured out that when we one day in a live chat, this was before the robots. Maybe I could ask the robots, but we said something like, or we tried to figure out if Bloomberg has X amount of billions of dollars and he spent 50 million on guns, anti-guns, because we know what he spent because he was bragging about it in some article. I was like
Yep.
saying that's like that's not that much money. So we did the math. It was equivalent of him spending $200 because if he's got so much money and the amount that he spent, it seems like a lot to us. but he spent
Hmm.
$200. So in other words, he could have easily spent double that, triple that, quadruple it. And he would have been gone down in history as the guy who got rid of guns because he would have done a lot of damage with four times the amount of money. But he didn't. And I always wondered, like, what, I didn't really wonder, but I was always saying, like, we should be aware that he is not spending anywhere near his fortune on this. He spends enough
Well,
money. He spends the money he wants to spend, and that's it. And now,
I look at it this way,
the
though.
point though is that
I look at it this way.
well, hold on. I think that he spent that amount of money in 2020 hindsight because then you get the Safer Communities Act of 2022, and the dipshit Republicans decided to go along with the Democrats to say, let's put trillions of dollars aside for the next 10 years, and every state that comes up with better and better red flag laws will compete, and the best state with the worst red flag laws gets a chunk of money every year for the next 10 years. So they made this way to pay off all the states. Well, who's coming up with the red flag laws? Bloomberg organizations. So I see this as a massive payoff to the Bloomberg organizations to push the money right back where it came from. And I'm wondering if he didn't gain money in this whole thing. I don't know if I explained that well, but I think that there's a long-term play here that this guy ended up making money on this whole anti-gun shit. And he just did it I'm not saying he figured it out like 4D chess, but I think he's seen a place to go, hey, you know what? I can cash in and get all my money back out of this. All I got to do is make it sound like it's a great idea for the states to fight about red flag laws. Like, let's have the worst red flag laws. And, it's only your states. It's
I,
only those nine, I shouldn't say yours. It's only the 9 states that are, Tony happens to live in one of them. But, it's those 9 states that are going to jump at that chance. Like Arizona's probably, well, actually, Arizona might be one of the states at this point, but only a few states are really going to fight for that money, which is sad. But the ones that somebody's going to win, like it doesn't matter which state wins, somebody wins, and who actually gets that money. So the state that wins, let's say it's Connecticut, right? Connecticut or Rhode Island or New York or something, they win. Well, who gets the money? The state doesn't get the money. The state takes the money and gives it to organizations that do the blah, blah, blah. And that's going to be a Bloomberg organization.
exactly. So that's why I saw it as no. His intention wasn't really to get rid of gun control, just like Novo Nordisk. Novo Nordisk isn't really trying to cure diabetes. You know what I mean? It's like as long as there's out there and they can keep selling our medicine, we don't want to cure this. So yeah, his thing is to get enough pushback and he can make money off of this. No, if he really wanted to end it, he could end it. But there's a whole lot more. One, you're picking judges, you're doing all that kind of thing. Like all of this is a whole thing for a control freak. And I do see it as 4D chess because he has advisors. He didn't just pull this out of his butt on his own and say, you know what I'm doing today? I'm
That's true.
going after one of the amendments.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think that is something like there's probably somebody that goes after religion that I'm not paying attention to, that makes a living after going after religion. But
Hmm.
uh, but I see what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. He decided that this was the play or whatever, and made the play.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to dismiss it. I mean, this is a guy that ran for president and had advisors told him it was a good idea. And I'm like, I hope he fired those guys. Those can't be the same guys that playing the anti-gun campaign just so you could be president. But yeah, that's the way I look at it. I think this is a long-term thing he did, and it's a moneymaker, definitely. And it's not to keep people safe. I mean, remember, this douchebag made it so you can't paint a firearm legally in New York. Like that was one of his things. You can't change it from being black. Like when Cerakote started being big, yeah, he banned that in New York. The Cerakote guns.
Did you see the Cerakote New York camouflage?
Well, I
And
know they had one called New York Taxi Cab.
was that what it was?
Yeah, they had one called New York Taxi Cab.
And they would have that like on standing out in the front of their booth for a number of years there. Whenever you'd see them at a show, they would have that one. It was like a bunch of bricks. It was pretty cool. A little bit of spray paint
Yeah,
on it. Just graffiti, I mean. Where are we at with time? You got places to be. So normally we go marathon sessions, but today we're going to be a normal, uh, tidy normal.
A human length show, yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm not recording. I'm not recording the other podcast tonight either. Uh, so I'll have a Saturday night where I could actually, pretend to do the things I said I was going to
have some fun, relax, have some fun.
do.
Are
Relax, come
you
back, and
near
put it.
close enough to be able to look at the ocean ever?
Yeah.
Is that like a couple minute thing for you, or is that like it takes an hour to go do it?
Uh, Shit. I never even think about where the ocean is. Hold on. If you're talking about going down to the shore, yeah, it'll take a few.
Okay.
If you're just talking about hitting, the coast, yeah, that'll. I don't know.
Oh
Yeah,
no, I don't give a
let's
shit
just
about the
say.
beach. I'm just saying, like, I'm assuming that there's got to be some pretty epic places to just watch the sunrise, or maybe watch
Oh yeah,
the
dude.
sun go down and watch the birds do their thing, or the boats do their thing, or whatever the fishermen maybe.
Jersey, Jersey is gorgeous, and there's so many places to do it. Even if you live up north and near the city, you go to Palisades, and you're looking over the Palisades, which is a freaking sheer cliff, and you're just looking from that into New York. Plus, we have mountains where you actually ski in Jersey, in Vernon, and up near. People might have heard of this Picatinny Arsenal. That's where the Picatinny Rail was developed, and a whole bunch of other military stuff was developed or is being developed. Yeah, we have a bunch of beautiful places in New Jersey. The only thing that's messing New Jersey up are the politicians. This state is gorgeous. Um, it has tons of beautiful women from everywhere around the world in it. It has great colleges and universities and hospitals. I mean, this state really on paper looks good until you have to get a job and watch all your taxes getting eaten up, and have to live under the stupid laws. Great place to live outside of living.
Right on. Well, I think let's wrap it up then, huh?
Yes, sir.
So thanks again for
Well,
joining us. And thanks everybody out there for being part of the show. And if you're listening, I don't do these enough as recording. I do them in batches. So I say I don't do them enough. If you're listening to this, it means I've batched them and I put them up on the thing. I need to find a robot to do this for us. And then every week this will become a more consistent podcast. But whatever format you're listening to this on with, give us some feedback. And we'll see you again next weekend.
hey, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Let's do this.